become an entire band with just a pair of sticks. This is sensory percussion. If you can imagine it, you can play it.
Guys, I am so excited to introduce you to a man that needs no introduction, James Hunt.
How you doing, man? It's really nice to meet you.
It's great to meet you too, man. RÜFÜS the Soul on tour. You guys formed what year?
2010. So yeah, 15 years ago.
Amazing.
Long time
so
ago.
young.
I know.
And it was the same three guys.
Same three guys.
So the band's been intact 15 years.
I was about 2 years out of school, and I was studying at university. And then I dropped out for a year to like focus on music, and we started making music together and started touring around Sydney. We would have a trip to Melbourne every now and then, maybe Brisbane, just around Australia, very small. But it grew very organically, and then there was no turning back. We're very lucky it's built in a very organic way. You know, there was never really any like overnight moment, you know, it's just like a series of like bucket lists that were ticked, and we were very lucky with how things kind of developed very organically, I guess, for us.
When you started, how did the idea to integrate drums with EDM, which was really not done, I mean, it still isn't done very much, where it's usually all electronic, guys are not necessarily playing the instrument, they're putting pieces together in real time of music bits, etc. How did this formulate?
It definitely, there was quite a bit of a scene in Australia in the kind of late 2010s for, I guess you would call it indie dance bands, or like sort of the electro clash movement. There was like, in electronic music, there was this kind of like element of it being raw and rough around the edges, and LCD Sound System was obviously doing that with a live show that was also, he's operating, like James Murphy, operating as a producer, songwriter, but then building out a live show that is very like sort of instrumental heavy. In Australia, there were quite a few acts that we were obsessed with, like Cut Copy, The Presets, Banshee. These are these acts that were huge in the late 2010s, and we were very drawn to that. We were also, very big fans of the Chemical Brothers, who have their own version of a live show where there's a lot of modular synths and they're doing things on the fly, live looping, and obviously they don't have like live drum kit. But there's that, basically the genesis of the project was that we wanted to do something that was live and electronic, and whatever that intersection was, we were really fascinated by it. And I grew up playing drums, so naturally, when I went to school with Tyrone, who's a singer, and I'd played in some like percussion ensembles at school with him and like a few jazz bands. We were kind of playing in some groups after school, and he was a natural fit. So, we started working together as sort of producers and songwriters. But then when we fleshed out the live show, obviously I'm playing drums, and yeah, it made sense.
And what age did you start playing drums?
I started when I was 12.
Okay, and did you have a teacher back then, or did you self-taught?
I didn't know I had a teacher. At our school in Sydney, there was a mandatory, in year 7, a mandatory music group class, and everyone wanted to play drums. And I luckily got in. And I think once I started, I feel like I'm quite obsessive, so I became obsessed with it. I was tapping at home with like knives and forks, and my sisters were like, "Mom, get James to shut up." And he was like, I think he wants to get it. So my parents are extremely supportive and patient, and they bought me a drum kit, and I started getting one-on-one lessons. And then for my entire teenage years, that's what I was obsessed with, was drumming predominantly, before I became more interested in production and discovering a broader array of music in my late teens and early 20s. And then I kind of got obsessed with music production as well. So it's kind of like the intersection of both. But yeah.
Who inspired you?
I listened to a broad array of stuff when I was a teenager, like a lot of jazz, like fusion jazz, like Vinny Colaiuta was one of my favorite drummers growing up. But Danny Carey is like my idol. Like I listened to a lot of Tool when I was like 15, 16, learned every song, like back to front. Just his style I really connected with. There, it's like quite textural and tonal, but then very powerful. Billy Cobham, and then later on I became really into like Jojo Maya in terms of his like hybridization and him doing like live jungle drumming. So it's like, you know, taking samples of funk drummers that have been obviously spliced and chopped into drum and bass and jungle, and then he's replaying that. So I find that really interesting, that like multiple layered thing where it's like human, machine, human. There's a dance between the two. So I got really into that style a bit later on.
If there was one person that you would say had a huge impact on your life, who would it be?
Maybe I would say Tom York and Radiohead at large. They're also one of my favorite groups. And I've just been lost in their world from time to time. And that's one thing I love about music, is there's a cyclical nature of it. And like every now and then I'll come back into this era where I just get lost in Radiohead world for like 2 months at a time. And I'm just discovering how like specific and choicey the production is. And also Phil, the drummer, how restrained he is and how that's perfect for the project. And like, you know, I find that really fascinating as well. From a standpoint of a drummer, that he's doing what the song requires, like almost every time. That's really fascinating. So I am very inspired by them in a musical way, in terms of when we're writing music in the studio, because the way we operate is like we are 3 songwriters and producers. So in the studio, we don't have a drum kit set up. It's very much building beats by like found sounds, chopping up loops. It's like very electronic. You know, I listen to a lot of electronic music and absorb that. And I think being a drummer helped me in terms of drum programming in the studio. And when me and the guys are making beats, you know, there's a bounce between like what I've learned as a drummer in terms of a feel or a groove, interacted with like our favorite electronic producers. Sometimes it's very minimal and simple. Sometimes using like found sounds and like, you know, really textural stuff. It's very producer oriented. So we then come into the live show and we delegate our parts out and relearn it as a band now. So the studio and the band are like separate ecosystems, and it's kind of an interesting setup. We're not like playing live in the studio. We learn the songs after.
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
So they're really 2 entirely different experiences for the listener.
Exactly, yeah. Yep. I find that really interesting too, and it's fun. And, you know, delegating the parts. And so it's like I get to have this kit and get to like find the articulation of the song on the kit after we've made it, and find more creative ways to like articulate it, reinterpret samples that we've used to do them live. Or, you know, I have a really great station over here with the Prophet, and like some more like, you know, yeah, I'm a synth nerd, so I love nerding out on that stuff. We all are synth nerds, so, you know, it's very fun.
So your rig is really all of this.
Yeah.
It's not just the drum percussion lane. It's this lane too.
Exactly. It's expanded quite a lot. I think it's a good level now. I don't need to add any more bits and pieces, but I've been adding some bits and pieces.
So what is something that nobody knows about James Hunt?
It's a good question. I do think that a lot of people see us in our live setting and see that, you know, there's a drummer, there's a singer, keys player. So I would say that I'm an obsessive with like synthesizers, and like, you know, I do a lot of production. John does a lot of production. We're all producers, and I think basically it's just retelling the story that we all operate in the studio as a unit where every idea is valid. We're all suggesting ideas about every aspect of the music making. So, you know, I operate as a drummer, but I'm very obsessed with the production of music, and we all are, you know. And I think sometimes people don't know that. Also, it's funny, people think that RÜFÜS is one guy, which makes sense because we call the band a person's name.
Right.
So, you know, we're 3 individuals, and yeah, we love making music together.
And where did the name come from?
We tell different stories about where the name came from. We used to like make stories up, but essentially we were looking for something that was like familiar but also felt foreign, with the umlauts on the U's to make it feel like, we were from Sydney, to make it feel like we were some Scandinavian electronic outfit, and we used to not show our faces, so there was some mystery, and yeah, there's not really an entire specific meaning, but we liked the aesthetic of it and that it felt foreign yet familiar.
So we're gonna go through the setup from stage left all the way to stage right. Let's go through it.
Yeah, so this is a Pearl Crystal Beat kit. I've been using this since 2018. We landed on this, me and the drum tech, James Lascombe, who's amazing drum tech. because we really like the ability to get it tonal but still quite dead for dance music. So we've got the 22-inch kick, which we blend with some sequence kick sometimes. You know, for the 12 and the 16 toms, there's a little bit of decay, a little bit of tonality, but it's not ringing out, which is great for like, you know, for dance music, it being like tight and short. We recently landed on this 14x4 DW snare. That has a really nice crack to it. Nice,
but very beefy.
Very beefy
for a 4.
Yeah, it has a nice amount of body, but it you know, the decay is really nice. It's really punchy, really tight. So we've landed on that recently. We have this little popcorn snare, this little Mapex, which I kind of was like inspired by the Jojo Maya setup, where it's a little side popcorn. So that's nice for like, you know, interpolating like break beats and the ticka from like, you know, jungle and drum and bass.
Awesome.
And so then this is a pretty key part of the setup, the SPDSX. This is the new one, the Pro. The fidelity is really nice on it. A lot of the show revolves around that because it's like, a lot of my show is hi-hat based, where I'm using a lot of the accentuation of hi-hat. Just, you know, I feel like I'm dancing on that a lot. You know, I use the tom sparingly, the cymbals sparingly for like texturing, you know, texturizing things.
All Zildjian cymbals.
All Zildjian cymbals. The A customs, we like the brightness of them. I used to have Ks, a bit too dark, but I really like it's very crispy. It cuts through the mix really nice against like any other things we have in the track. Sometimes we use supplemental shakers in track, just like little supplemental elements.
I see.
But for the most part, it's what I'm being.
And you're playing to a click in all show, of course.
Yeah, which makes sense. We're playing dance music. You know, it's like, it's a motoric element meets the human. So it's to the click. So I have to be very locked in. My live kick.
Triggered?
Yeah, this is trigger. It triggers a gate, actually. So we have the gate really
so that's for front of house.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we have that so it can have a really sensitive ghost notes, but then it's not always letting through sound. Same with these guys.
I see. I see. So that's for front of house to get his keys.
Exactly.
Key to gate. Okay.
And then
kick drum.
The 22 fat. Yeah, it's really nice. And per song, we'll have different kind of setups with our front of house engineer, where we're blending that with sequence kick. So one of the transients will take over more in one song. I have a little pedal basically attached to this guy.
Oh, nice.
So that I can trigger, you know, specific kick samples. So some songs that are more breakbeat. So it's like, it depends on the song. So broken beat tracks, I'll do that. 4 to the 4 tracks, I'll be pumping along, and I have to be very tight to lock in with the sequence. And then, another interesting part of the kit that I love is this Zen delay pedal. So I'm basically sending the entire kit to front of house. They're sending it back to this pedal. So then I can go like,
and you're performing the sounds through the pedal.
Exactly, yeah. You get that kind of dubby effect.
Yeah.
But also it's really nice for like, in breakdowns, I'll do like, so it's for like extra candy. Same thing with this. I send the SPD through this pedal. So some breakdowns I'll be building both like dynamically on the actual like. So that's kind of a part of the performance is like the hybridization of like.
And by default, they're off.
Yeah.
You just manually turn them off.
Yeah, I manually turn them on and off, and I'm kind of just, it's not synced, it's just millisecond. There's one track when I've calculated the like 1/8 D delay to the song, so it's like 421 milliseconds, so I dial that in, and it's like a feedback build while I'm building on the crash. Anyway, it's a very hybridized and interesting setup. Yeah, I feel like that's about it for this kit.
James, this kit is innovative. Your approach to it, your playing is innovative. Thank you for being here
I
today.
really appreciate you. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Thank you, Modern Drummer. You're the best part of our community. We love you guys. I'm David Frangioni. He's James Hunt. We'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.